My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. The UFC 295 weigh-ins are over. We did have two people missed weight, so I'm going to break down the entire UFC 295 fight card. I'm going to give you my picks, my predictions, and my DraftKings plays, and we're going to talk about those two people that missed weight. But before I jump in, I will encourage you to go to WeWantPicks.com and become a premium member. Premium membership is going to give you all sorts of tools, insight, and information to help you win your DraftKings league, to help you take down those giant tournaments. One of the things we're going to give you is the best ownership projections in the game. What you're looking at here are our ownership projections in the far right column for UFC Sao Paulo compared to all of the other ownership projections in the industry. This is inclusive of massive companies that charge $100 a month. Our margin of error was 4.46%. The next closest was mid to high fives. And you don't think a percentage point matters? A percentage point matters very, very much because those ownership projections, hello, Mackenzie Dern. Hey, those ownership look at the picture that Josh used when he wrote this article. Those ownership projections are preloaded into the DraftKings optimizer. This will build lineups for you. Come in here, you click a few buttons, you click generate, boom, it makes your lineup for you. So that half a percentage point, that full percentage point difference means everything. And here's the proof. Our community, our premium members, these are people who pay $10 a month. They went to WeWantPicks.com. They clicked become a member at the top. They have produced almost $400,000 in winning tickets from DraftKings alone. And it's with context. Here's some context for you. I can't believe this is from B Nasty, who made $51,000 just a few months ago. B Nasty said, I really can't believe they allow you guys to offer these tools. I literally did my lineups this morning. I picked my main three. The optimizer did the rest, and he took home $51,000. It's not an accident. It's not a coincidence that there's this many people from our community who pay the $10 winning this much money, shouting out the optimizers because of the ownership projections, because of the tools, the insight. WeWantPicks.com, click become a member. It's freaking $10. I'm in the volume game. We have almost 3,000 premium members. I'm going to go that route instead of trying to charge $80, $90. I'm going to go the $10 route, include the world, and we're going to get this community massive. WeWantPicks.com, click become a member. Weigh-ins are over. I mentioned there was a couple of weight misses. We had two. Jamall Emmers missed by 1 pound, I believe, and Roosavelt Roberts missed by 2 pounds. Credit to Roosavelt Roberts. He took this fight on like 4 days' notice. He accepted this fight on Tuesday. It's Friday. And the dude had to make weight, do all the things, get ready. So, yeah, he missed by 2 pounds, but, he didn't go up in weight. Most of the times when you get these short notice guys, it's a lighter person that's walking around a little heavy. They go up a weight class. Not Roosavelt. It's his weight. He cut it all. He did the thing. He missed by 2 pounds. He looked like not good. He looked horrible. I assume the fight will still remain, but that may drop. And if it does, it is what it is. But let's go ahead and break down this entire card. Opening up the main card, we have the first weight miss of the day. We have Jamall Emmers taking on Denis Buzukja. Jamall Emmers missed weight by 1 pound, but he actually looked fine. If he looked horrible, that would affect this breakdown. But he is $9,400. I'm telling you right now, not worth the money. I'm not spending the money. He won't be in my lineup. But I do think he could potentially win this fight. Jamall Emmers has big-time power in his hands, but he's actually a wrestler by discipline. He's got very good takedowns, very good takedown defense. He's only 2-4 in the UFC. But let's look at this. Split decision with Giga Chikadze. Pat Sabatini, he blasted. I don't know how he did not get credit for a knockdown. He blasted Pat Sabatini. That dude was 80% knocked out. Jamall followed him to the ground. Pat Sabatini scooped up, I believe it was his ankle, and submitted him. And then this Jack Jenkins, he beat the piss out. No, that's a little exaggeration. He beat Jack Jenkins. He was a minus 1,700 favorite after the third round. When the fight was done, Jamall Emmers was a minus 1,700 favorite. That's how confident the world was that he won that fight, and the judges still gave it to Jack Jenkins. So the record is a bit deceiving here, but he's a powerful striker with very good wrestling as a backup. And it really shouldn't be a backup because he is a wrestler through and through. He's taking on Denis Buzukja. Denis Buzukja made his short notice UFC debut against Sean Woodson. 0 takedowns. but he did shoot a whole bunch. He struggled taking Sean Woodson to the ground because Sean Woodson is 11 feet tall, and Denis Buzukja couldn't get his arms all the way around his legs to get him to the ground. But Denis Buzukja is a very good wrestler. He's training with the Matt Frivolas, the Marabs. He's coming out of that gym. Most of this card is, and he's a nonstop wrestler. He's going to come forward. He's going to shoot over and over and over again. He does have some solid striking technique, some okay power as well. I compared him to Matt Frivola. He is like a Matt Frivola, except a little more athletic, a little bit more of a technical striker, but he doesn't have that huge power. I think Denis Buzukja is actually a decent underdog here because if he can take Jamall Emmers down, all of a sudden he can win this fight. He can put some real points on the board. I opened by saying Jamall Emmers missed weight, and if he looked terrible, that could affect this breakdown. I still think Jamall Emmers is going to win because he's a higher level fighter that has been fighting at a higher level. He's fought the better level of competition. He does have his striking buttoned up. He does have his wrestling buttoned up, and he's just got a couple of bad breaks. But with that being said, Denis Buzukja has the wrestling credentials, and if Jamall Emmers is exhausted, he cut a little too much weight, he's not looking good, Denis might have some success in the wrestling department and could potentially steal this fight. $6,800 is a price that you might want to look at, especially if you have multiple entries going on in multiple large field tournaments. Then we have Josh Van taking on Kevin Borjas. This is another, Josh Van, a young prospect. People are very high on him. $9,200 is a high price tag. He's only 22 years old. This is his second UFC fight. He is looking for his second win. He beat Zhalgas Zhumagulov on short notice. And we know Zhalgas has like a legendary losing streak, but Zhalgas is a high pressure guy with good wrestling, and none of that mattered to Josh. Josh controlled that fight through and through. He's got solid striking. He's a little aggressive. He's got some good power. Takedown defense, scramble skills look good as well. He's this new generation of fighters, so he's going to be good everywhere. It's hard to throw him into one single category. But in this Zhalgas fight, he showcased his striking. He showcased his chin, and he showcased his cardio. The dude took this fight on very short notice, couple of days notice, and he had plenty of cardio. It was not a concern at all. So I like Josh Van to win this fight. It's going to come down to, is he worth that $9,200? He certainly wasn't in his last fight, but his price point was only $7,200 there. He's taking on UFC newcomer Kevin Borjas. Kevin Borjas, a clean striker. He likes to work with combinations. He's going to use everything from straight rights to low leg kicks, and he's going to plot forward. He can grapple if he needs to, but more often than not, he's actually going to get you to the ground and then stand back up. As soon as you get to the ground, right back up. He doesn't want to play that ground game, even though he has some decent wrestling skills. He's coming off a Contender Series win, which we don't see here because they don't have DraftKings for that, though, just about a month ago, and he's making his official UFC debut. I like Kevin, but I don't think he's going to get it done. Kevin's striking is interesting. It's patient. It's high-quality stuff. I think Joshua Van's going to win this fight, but the problem is I don't think Josh Van's going to be worth that $9,200 price point. Unless he works in a ton of wrestling, he's going to need to beat the brakes off of Kevin. He's going to have to drop him. He's going to have to finish him to get to that $9,200. He only scored 80 points in his last fight, and he won that fight pretty convincingly. I don't think Joshua Van's going to be worth the money, but I am very confident that he's going to win this fight. Then we have John Castaneda. John Castaneda did make weight, but it was a catch weight. He asked for weight earlier in the week. He asked for an extra. They agreed on an extra 3 pounds. I don't know if that's what he asked for, if he asked for more, but they gave him the extra weight. He made the weight. He actually looked fine. So I do think John Castaneda will break him down as if there's nothing going on, although cardio could potentially be an issue if he was struggling with weight earlier in the week. But John Sexy Mexi Castaneda is a high-pressure guy. He's going to come forward. He's going to get in your face. Former Division II wrestler, so he does have wrestling credentials. He does have wrestling ability. He's got takedowns. He's got solid takedown defense. We saw that in the Muin Gufarov fight. Muin Gufarov is a high-level wrestler himself. John Castaneda stuffed all of those takedowns, got 3 of his own. He defended 6. And then got 3 of his own. He put up $8,500 in that fight. His salary was $8,400. If we work down the list, $8,300 to beat Miles Johns, and that was by finish. He did score 117 against Eddie Wineland, but that was a first-round knockout. I don't think he's going to get a first-round knockout here. I do think it'll be a high-pressure fight. I do think he's going to win. He's going to come forward and really lean on his gas tank. Hopefully it's there. The problem is he's another guy that Listen, if he was $8,800 in all of these fights, he doesn't necessarily cover that salary. Didn't in his last fight. Didn't in the win against Miles Johnson. That was a finish. And I don't know if he will here. I do think he's going to win this fight, though. He's taking on Kang. This guy's a well-rounded guy overall. He uses range to keep you at distance, and then he'll close that distance and work in some takedowns. He likes to get it to the ground if he can. He doesn't always have that success, though. His takedowns are not the cleanest in the world, but he times them well enough to get some people going. He's a low-volume striker, but he has very, very real power, and he is coming off this submission win over Christian Quinones. I do not think he's a good play at $7,400. I do think John Castaneda absolutely gets this done, and John Castaneda is borderline as far as the salary is concerned. I think John's staying in Kang's face, who likes to, Kang likes to manage the distance and work angles and things like that. John's going to stay in his face, push the pressure, work to the legs. Stay in the face, push the pressure, work to the legs. That's going to prevent Kang from doing what he wants to do. So I think John wins this fight. I think he keeps Kang on his back foot. If he works in a bunch of takedowns, John will be worth the salary. If he doesn't, then he won't. I will probably have him in my lineup, though, because I'm very confident in his ability to win. So I do think he can get it done. Then we have Mark Madsen taking on Jared Gordon. This is a battle of also the wrestlers, essentially. Jared Gordon is a decent wrestler. He's got some solid pressure, good volume striking. He wants to come forward in flurries and then look for those takedowns. He can be out-grappled, though. His offensive wrestling is solid, but his defensive wrestling can use a little bit of work. He's been taken down many, many times by Grant Dawson. Joe Selecki out-grappled him. And now he's coming off most recently this no contest or no decision, as they call it here, to Bobby Green, where he was, you could argue he was piecing Bobby Green up. That's a valid argument to make, that he was landing the better shots, the cleaner striker against one of the better strikers in the division, but then Bobby Green had that accidental headbutt. It literally knocked out Jared Gordon shortly after, and then they made it a no decision. That was his last fight. He was only $6,800 in that fight. He was a big underdog. And if that fight continued, he may have actually won that outright. He's taken on Mark Madsen. Mark Madsen is 40, so he's no spring chicken, but he is an Olympic Greco-Roman wrestler. Greco-Roman is, instead of shooting at the legs, you're going to work upper bodies and trips, throws, things like that. Mark Madsen is an Olympic wrestler. He does have very good takedowns, obviously. Took down Austin Hubbard 8 times, took down Vince Pichel 3 times. Grant Dawson, though, showed that you can out-wrestle the wrestler. If you shoot first and you don't wait, you can take down Mark Madsen. Mark Madsen only has a 62% takedown defense. While that's not abysmal, considering he's an Olympic wrestler, you would expect a little bit of a high number from there. The tricky part about this fight is it is grappler versus grappler, as was his last fight with Grant Dawson. But Jared Gordon isn't the wrestler that Grant Dawson is. So I think Jared Gordon can win this fight literally because he's going to be younger and fresher. Mark Madsen does have some cardio issues, if you will. But I think Mark Madsen's a very good underdog because he's only $7,300. And yes, he doesn't score incredibly well because he does nothing. He'll get some takedowns and just do nothing with them. A little bit of control time, a handful of takedowns. So, I mean, he had 9 or 8 takedowns in this fight, 8 minutes of control time, put up 90 points. If he wins this fight, I do think it'll look like the Vince Pichel fight, right? Lose some of the striking exchanges, but get the takedowns going. It'll be close. He'll put up 74 points. Considering he's only $7,300, he could be worth it. I am not going to have Jared Gordon in my lineup, and I've been saying that for these first handful of fights. I don't love a lot of these people. And that's just because I don't see Jared Gordon finishing Mark Madsen. And while I think he'll have some success wrestling, he's not going to have Grant Dawson level success where he's going to take him down at will. So Jared Gordon's going to be the pick because of youth and cardio, but Mark Madsen is a solid underdog. This guy is an Olympian, and he's fighting another wrestler. That takes us to Nazim Sadykhov and Viacheslav Borshchev. I'll tell you right now, I'm going underdog here. There's your heads up. Nazim Sadykhov is a solid kickboxer. He's got good speed, good power. He's not reckless. Right? He tries to keep things somewhat controlled. He'll take his time. He'll find his openings. He likes to plot forward while counter-striking. So good head movement. On his way in, waits for you to throw something back. No wild flurries. Not insane power, but some speed. He is coming off of this submission win over Terrence McKinney. And you're going to see, submission, whatever. You see there's no takedown? He basically got out-wrestled, manhandled in that first round. In the second round, Terrence McKinney was gassed to all hell. Nazim took advantage of a situation, reversed it, submitted him, got that win. Good for Nazim, right? Shows his mental fortitude. It shows that he doesn't just give up, doesn't break down. He could have easily gone to his corner and be like, well, I can't defend the takedowns. I'm screwed. But that's not what happened. But you're going to see submission. He's not a grappler. He is a striker. He's taking on Viacheslav Borshchev. Viacheslav Borshchev is a phenomenal striker. Former professional kickboxer, insane power in his hands. And yes, he gets taken down like crazy. This guy has been taken down 24 times in 5 UFC fights. 24 times in 5 fights. But that means he stood up 23 times. He's not somebody you can just take down and hold down. He's not somebody that you're going to take down once and you can, he'll pop up, you'll take him down again. No, this guy is constantly scrambling, constantly throwing, constantly working his way back up to his feet. He's got plenty of cardio, and he has phenomenal high-level striking. Viacheslav Borshchev will head and shoulders be the better striker. He's going to have way more power, way more speed, way more technique. The striking isn't even close. Obviously, Nazim is probably going to be the better offensive wrestler, but he's not a wrestler. So if Nazim Sadykhov comes in here thinking he's going to be a wrestler, he may gas early. He may leave himself open to getting knocked out, because if you're wrestling like crazy and your head's down and you're taking shots you don't normally take, well, Viacheslav might be there ready to go. So Viacheslav is going to be the pick because the striking is just so much better. He's going to be the pick, $7,700. I would have liked a little bit more of a discount, but when this guy wins, boy, does he win. And he puts up some very real numbers. So I like Viacheslav here. I'll probably throw him in a lineup, especially he is in the sevens as far as pricing is concerned. Then we have Mateusz Rebecki taking on Roosavelt Roberts. Mateusz Rebecki was already on this card. He should be in your lineup. $9,600. That's not nothing. That's expensive. But he puts up 122, 104. The guy's a wrestling beast. He's probably going to win this fight by stoppage. He has an opponent that is stepping up on 4 days' notice. But Mateusz Rebecki overall has insanely powerful hands, very good wrestling, and pretty good cardio considering the pace that this guy sets. He was already on this card, lost his opponent. He got a new one. His new opponent is Roosavelt Roberts. This guy missed weight by 2 pounds. Looks horrific on the scale. You should absolutely have Mateusz in your lineup. Roosavelt Roberts is better than this record. And it's not a bad record. I mean, he's got 5 wins in the UFC. And then he went into the Ultimate Fighter House. He went 1-1 there. His loss is to Vince Pichel. That's a quality loss. Jim Miller, that's a quality loss. Bahamondes, that's a quality loss. This Kevin Kroom one, though, he lost that fight. It was a non-decision because Kevin Kroom failed for weed or something to that effect. And that was not a good loss. That was not good at all. But Roosavelt Roberts is overall a decent fighter, right? He's a talented guy. He's been in and out of the UFC for a while. He does have 5 wins in the UFC. He's got a good jab. He sets up some nice leg kicks, good offensive submissions as well. And while he's not the most dangerous guy in the world, he can be dangerous, but he can be chinny and he can be taken down. Mateusz Rebecki should run through this fight. He should absolutely get it done. And you should probably have Mateusz Rebecki in your lineup, even though he's $9,600. Then we have Lupita Godinez taking on Tabatha Ricci. This is a tricky fight to break down because Lupita Godinez is a very good wrestler. She's strong. She can be a bully. She's got good clean striking as well. She's also very inconsistent. This loss to Angela Hill never should have happened. This win over Cynthia Calvillo, yeah, it's a win. It was look at 66, but trash win. 66 points is insane. Now, she did just beat the absolute brakes off of Elise Reed, and that Lupita Godinez does the same thing here, but she came forward. Her striking looked phenomenal. She dropped her. Then she worked in the takedowns, worked in the wrestling. Then she submitted her. She absolutely looked phenomenal in that fight, and if she fights like that here, she will dominate this fight as well, but she is taking on Tabatha Ricci. Tabatha Ricci is also a very good grappler. Her striking is not good. It's not good. I don't know why people are confused thinking that it's good. Her striking is not good. It's there. She throws hands. She's always in great shape. She can be strong. She's going to shoot good takedowns. She's going to get it to the ground, have nice control on top, work her way from position to position while pounding, but she's not going to get so aggressive that she loses the position. When she gets takedowns, she typically has some solid control, and she's got very good jiu-jitsu. She's coming off that win over Jillian Robertson, where a lot of people were like, oh, Jillian might win. No, she beat Jillian. It was clear she was going to beat Jillian. Tabatha Ricci is a very good grappler. So this fight's going to come down to, can Tabatha take down Lupi, and which Lupi's going to show up? If Tabatha can take down Lupi, Lupi's screwed. She's a wrestler, not a jiu-jitsu fight. She's not a grappler. She's a wrestler. But if Lupi has that high-level takedown defense, which she should have, she's a very good wrestler, now it's a striking match, she's going to beat the crap out of Tabatha. But if Lupi wrestles, Tabatha could sweep her, and we could have some issues. So I'm not going to have Lupi Godinez in my lineup. While the potential is there, so is the risk. And she doesn't typically score well outside of that Elise Reed beatdown. Now, Tabatha Ricci at $7,500 is somebody that you may want to consider because she puts up numbers in her wins because she gets the wrestling going. She gets the striking going. She's got the control time. She puts up numbers in wins. It's somebody that if you have multiple lineups, you should consider Tabatha Ricci. I will probably have her in a lineup or two, even though I do think Lupi Godinez wins this fight. I think that version that we just saw, I'm going to assume that's the version that's going to show up. So I do think she wins this fight. But we're building a DraftKings lineup here, and you need underdogs. You can't afford all the favorites. And I think Tabatha Ricci is probably one of the better underdogs on this card, especially at that 7-something price point. Then we have Steve Erceg taking on Alessandro Costa. My opinion on Steve Erceg and the rest of the community's opinion on Steve Erceg is different. I personally think while Steve Erceg is talented, he's a very slick grappler. He attacks very quickly. He snatches things up and scrambles. I don't think his striking is as good as people think. A lot of people think his striking is very good. It's clean. It's crisp. This guy's a prospect. But he gets hit. He's got very limited head movement. And yeah, he's got a nice jab. He's going to pump that while moving forward. I don't think the striking is that good. His grappling is impressive, very impressive. He moves fluidly. He sees his opportunities. And he is coming off this short notice win over David Dvorak, where he stepped up on short notice, got the wrestling going, and got that done. He only scored 70 points, but it was short notice. David Dvorak's not a bum, so good for Steve Erceg. But a lot of people love his striking. I do not. I think he's far too hittable and he doesn't move his head enough. And he's taking on Alessandro Costa. This guy's a solid striker. He's got good takedown defense. His striking side is going to have this high, tight guard. He will be patient, but he's going to find his spots and then throw with 100% power. He has incredible power, and if he connects, and if Steve Erceg is not moving that head, just coming forward, Alessandro Costa can put that guy out. So I think Costa actually wins this fight. He's going to be my pick because simply Steve Erceg is hittable. Alessandro Costa hits hard. Steve Erceg's best asset is his grappling. Alessandro Costa has some pretty solid takedown defense. So I'm going to pick Alessandro Costa here. Not my most confident pick on this card because Steve Erceg may be much better than I'm giving him credit for. That's what everybody else thinks. He did throw 142 strikes in that last fight, and that was short notice. And Costa can fade if you stay in his face and you stay busy. So Costa's going to be the pick, $7,600. I've picked a few of these underdogs for a lineup around that price point. If I'm deciding between Costa and Ricci, I probably trust Ricci more than Costa, but I think Lupi is a tougher opponent than Erceg is. So it really comes down to if you want the better fighter or if you want the lesser opponent. I think Ricci's probably a bit safer because Ricci will score some points if she gets the wrestling going, where Costa, we're relying on him to stay on his feet and hopefully land those big punches. That takes us to the main card opener. We got Patty Sabs taking on Diego Lopes. Pat Sabatini, very good grappler. Very, very good grappler coming out of that Renzo Gracie gym. He's going to come forward. He's going to shoot takedowns immediately. They're very nice, clean takedowns. And then he's going to grapple. He's got great control, great submissions, all of those things. Striking, it is technical, but he's very stiff, and I think he's chinny. We watched him get dropped against Jamall Emmers. He did survive. He did make it happen. He pulled off that submission, but he got dropped bad. And then we watched Damon Jackson just sprint across the cage, blast him in the face, put him out. outside of the chinniness, he's got very clean takedowns, very good top pressure and control. But he's fighting Diego Lopes. Diego Lopes, I believe he's one of the coaches. I think he's like, what the hell's her name? Alexa Grasso's jiu-jitsu coach. I think he's one of the coaches of that Lobo fight gym, and he's a very young guy, but very good jiu-jitsu, aggressive jiu-jitsu. His striking is solid as well. He's going to come out. He's going to throw bombs. He's going to take chances. He's really risky on the feet. Very, very slick on the ground. Very slick on the ground. I think Diego Lopes loses this fight. I will probably have Pat Sabatini in my lineup. This does go directly against Jacob's lock of the week, but Diego Lopes, in my opinion, is just too willing to accept bottom. This Movsar Evloev fight, he was on his back the whole time. He had some success grappling, but Movsar is a nasty wrestler, not a super high-level grappler. Pat Sabatini is a very good wrestler and a very high-level grappler. If Diego Lopes is not charging forward, bombing away on his feet, he's on the ground, on his back, giving up control time, and just doing nothing with it. He's not going to submit Pat Sabatini. He's not going to sweep Pat Sabatini. His only chance to win this fight is to land those big shots on the feet, and I think Pat is going to come out here diving at legs, shooting immediately. So I trust Pat. Pat will probably be in my lineup. He's an affordable guy. We'll just look at him again real quick. He's an affordable guy, and when he wins, he 115, 106, 105, 90, and he's only $8,300. So I like Pat Sabatini. I'll probably have him in my lineup. Then we have Matt Frevola taking on Benoit Saint-Denis. This is a great fight. Could potentially be fight of the night. Matt Frevola, very good wrestler. He's been wrestling his entire life. Okay, we're going to talk about Benoit Saint-Denis, the wrestling that he has. He's been wrestling for 5 years. Matt Frevola's been wrestling his whole life. Matt Frevola has one punch, big knockout power in his hands. Yes, he's been finished. Terrence McKinney finished him. But you know what? Terrence McKinney's a beast. He almost finished Drew. Terrence McKinney has almost finished pretty much every single one of his opponents. And yes, the Little Reyes also finished Matt Frevola. But Matt Frevola is a tough, gritty guy who's going to come forward. He's got big power in his hands and good offensive wrestling. He averages almost 3 takedowns per fight. He has 12 takedowns in 9 fights, but he hasn't needed takedowns in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights. And then we go back to Pena to see those takedowns. He's taking on Benoit Saint-Denis. Benoit Saint-Denis is on a bit of a streak here. 4 fights in a row. 4 fights in a row, 4 stoppages, not seeing a third round. We can trust that he's got cardio because he typically has cardio. We don't really see him fade. He's a high-pressure guy, famously a former French Special Forces guy. He's only 27 years old, and he's got that mental fortitude. That's the one thing that concerns me is the mental fortitude of Benoit Saint-Denis because I don't think he's going to quit. I don't think Matt Frevola is going to break him. I don't think Matt Frevola is going to take him down a few times, then Benoit's going to be like, hey, I'm done. But I do think Matt Frevola can land the big power. I don't think Benoit's going to have this level of wrestling success. Yeah, 5 takedowns against Thiago Moises. That guy's a jiu-jitsu guy. 2 takedowns against Bonfim. Well, now we know that they're both absolute ass clowns. Took down Miranda, took down Stolze. I mean, Zaleski DeSantos beat him. And he had 2 takedowns in that fight. And Zaleski's, this is in 2021, but still an older striker kind of guy. I think Matt Frevola can win this fight. I love Matt Frevola's pricing. The problem is Matt Frevola, I don't necessarily think he's a chinny kind of guy, but we have seen him finish before. But I'm going to go Matt Frevola here. I'm going to pull him in my lineup so that I can afford that $9,600 price point that we're going to get on what's his name from earlier. Again, Benoit Saint-Denis has been wrestling for 5 years. Matt Frevola has been wrestling his entire life. Do we think that Matt Frevola is going to be able to stuff the takedowns and get his own? That he's going to be able to land that big power? I do think so. He's fighting at home. He's got all this energy going. He's got positive vibes. He's on a great team. A bunch of his teammates on this card. I'm going to go Matt Frevola. Again, we need underdogs to fill out some of these lineups. Then we have Mackenzie Dern and Jessica Andrade. Another expensive price point. Another must for your lineup. Mackenzie Dern should be in your lineup, period. End of story. She covers her nut anytime for the most part. This was an embarrassing fight because she just could not get it to the ground. Just an absolute embarrassment. Outside of that, incredibly dangerous. We know her as the phenomenal wonderkin grappler who's dangerous at any moment, standing or on the ground in the grappling department. Her takedowns kind of suck, But her striking doesn't suck anymore. This Angela Hill fight, she looked great. She dropped Angela Hill. She outstruck her. And Angela Hill's supposed to be this high-level, veteran-savvy striker. And Mackenzie Dern not only outstruck her, but she also outgrappled her and looked incredible in that fight. She's fighting Jessica Andrade. Historically, Jessica Andrade is big, strong, scary bully. She's going to come forward. She's going to bomb away, push you around, drag you to the ground, throw you all over the place, do whatever she's going to want to do. Very physically imposing. She is never the more technical fighter in the cage. Ever. Ever. But she's usually the strongest. She's usually the more powerful. I don't think it's going to matter here. She has shown us in these last 3 fights that she can't defend a takedown. Well, this was just flat out knocked out on her feet. But Suarez, Blanchfield couldn't defend those takedowns. And now we know Blanchfield's takedowns kind of suck too. She couldn't defend those takedowns, had nothing to offer when she was on the ground. And yeah, Mackenzie Dern's takedowns aren't great, but Mackenzie Dern doesn't need a full takedown to put you in jiu-jitsu trouble. We saw that in the Torres fight. She was literally climbing her body against the cage. Didn't even need to get to the ground. So I like Mackenzie Dern to win this fight. I think their trajectories are heading in separate directions. Jessica Andrade, actually, this is a battle of the divorcees. Jessica Andrade is talking about, I got divorced. I fought 5 times in 2023 to pay for that divorce. Mackenzie Dern talking about this whole fight purse is going to my husband. And here's the thing. I'm not divorced. Mostly because I don't want to spend that money. Hopefully Tiffany's not watching this. The problem is, all of a sudden, Mackenzie Dern's talking about, the divorce is so expensive. I have to give my husband all this money, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's like, that's bullshit. If it was the man getting divorced and he has to, nobody complains on that side. It's just, because it's a woman paying the man. No, you're the famous one. You make all the money. Either nobody pays or everybody pays. Equal opportunity. Mackenzie Dern should be in your lineup. Co-main event, we got Tom Aspinall taking on Sergey Pavlovich. I'm flipping here. I'm going Sergey Pavlovich. I was going Tom Aspinall because he's the better fighter. He's the more well-rounded fighter. He also has very fast hands. He also has power on the feet. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt, and he's got wrestling. All of those signs say, you know what? The more well-rounded guy should win this fight. But Tom Aspinall is like, well, I took the fight. How could I not? Worst case scenario, he's the scariest guy in the division. I have no training camp whatsoever. Tom Aspinall is already working on his excuses. And maybe he's just super casual guy and just talks and it's no big deal. Or maybe he literally is like, I'm going to lose this fight. Let me work in my excuses. Either way, I'm full flipping. I am full flipping. This was a 50-50 fight to begin with. And one of them, their mentality is, this is a tough fight. I didn't train and, I'm not supposed to win and we'll see what happens. And the other one's mentality is like, Bushneich, Nishnoof. I'll take Bushneich, Nishnoof any day of the week because we have Sergey Pavlovich. This guy is riding a 6-fight first-round knockout win streak. It is a little concerning because it's like, okay, what can he do outside of the first round? What if he doesn't knock out Tom Aspinall in the first round? Can he do anything else? Can he wrestle? Can he have cardio? Can he pick his shots and dance around? Can he take a shot? We know nothing. All we know is he's knocking people's heads off. His last loss was all the way in 2018 to Alistair Overeem, who should go down as the greatest heavyweight striker of all time in both kickboxing and MMA. But Sergey Pavlovich had a full camp. He was the backup for the previous main event. He's $8,000. Honestly, my advice to you is one of these men should be in your lineup. Somebody's going to get finished. Either Aspinall is going to land a big punch or get it to the ground, or Sergey Pavlovich is going to have 7 first-round knockouts in a row. These are heavyweights. Anything can happen. And if you're a loser in the comment section tomorrow night after the fights are done, bragging about, easy money, this is not easy money. This is a 50-50 fight. Either one of these guys could win. Either one of these guys could lose. I'm full flipping to Sergey Pavlovich, literally based off of Tom Aspinall's press conference and his mindset of, I just had to take it, but I haven't trained and we'll see what happens. But this should be a really fun fight. Main event, somewhat similar of a breakdown. We have Alex Pereira, the former middleweight champion who has moved up to light heavyweight. He just beat Jan Blachowicz in his light heavyweight debut, only scored 67 points. And he's not historically a super high-scoring guy unless he's getting the finish. And Jan Blachowicz is a durable dude that Alex Pereira didn't land that big shot on. But Alex Pereira, as we know, former 2-division Glory Kickboxing World Champion. This is for the belt. He may end up being a 2-division UFC champion. And then he would go down as one of the greatest in combat sports. It's actually incredible. what this guy's resume could be. But Alex Pereira, high-level kickboxer, nasty left hook, takedown defense, decent. Takedown offense, we've only seen it once. He is training with Glover Teixeira, famously. But the reality is, Alex Pereira is a scary, scary guy on the feet. Period. End of story. But we have seen him knocked out. Israel Adesanya knocked him out cold in that fight. Israel Adesanya had him rocked in this fight. Israel Adesanya also had him on ice skates in one of their kickboxing matches as well. He's taking on Jiri Prochazka. Jiri Prochazka, the former light heavyweight champion of the world. He did not lose his belt. He blew out his shoulder. They said it was the worst shoulder injury of all time, so he gave his belt away. He forfeited the belt. Then that belt was won, and that gentleman gave up the belt. So now we have a vacant belt. Jiri is fighting for it again, and he's taking on, as I just mentioned, Alex Pereira. But Jiri Prochazka is an interesting guy to break down because he's not anything. He's crazy. He's not a former kickboxing world champion. He's not a former wrestler. He's not a jiu-jitsu black belt. He's just an animal. He comes forward. He bombs away. He finds a way to win. He's got plenty of cardio. I've seen people talk about, oh, he got tired. He got tired in that Glover fight. That was a 5-round war. And not only, he got tired, but he kept his composure and he pulled it out in the 5th round. Glover made a mistake. Jiri was fresh enough and ready to go and got the submission win, submitted Glover. They both were exhausted, but one of them was able to gut through it. What makes this breakdown so tough is, very simply at a high level, Jiri Prochazka gets hit. He's a very hittable guy. And Alex Pereira is not a guy you need to hit, or you need hitting you. Alex Pereira could knock out a horse. But Jiri Prochazka just finds ways to win. He just does. All of these fights, he just finds ways to win. Against all odds, figures it out and gets it done. Personally, I am going to lean with Alex Pereira here. When I did my original notes, when I did my picks, I was leaning Jiri. I was like, this guy wins. He figures out how to win, and he wins. But I'm letting logic prevail. Let me take the better striker in what should be a striking matchup against the guy who's been out for a year and a half, against the guy who is coming off the worst shoulder injury of all time, a guy that we've seen get pieced up on the feet by people like Dominic Reyes. So I'm going to go Alex Pereira here. Pick your side, just like the co-main event. I don't think it's... Whoever wins in both the main and co-main are going to be very worth their salary and are going to round out your lineup quite nicely. Guys, become a premium member. It's $10 a month. You just go to WeWantPicks.com. You click Become a Member at the top. It's $10 a month. That's every event for the entire month is included in that. You're going to get the DraftKings Optimizer. This is preloaded with the best DraftKings ownership projections in the game. And you're going to use it to build lineups. It'll build one lineup. It'll build 150 lineups for you. Click a few buttons. You upload those lineups in the DraftKings. And now you're off to the races, hopefully joining these other premium members in the giant win club we have going. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. It is only $10 a month.